about me making another dating video. Hey y'all, it's Ilana and welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be about the biggest dating mistakes that I've made in my life and how to avoid them. So if you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. I post content about what it's like to navigate life in dating in San Francisco. So if you are thinking about moving to San Francisco, or you live in San Francisco, or maybe you're just single navigating the dating world, wherever the case may be, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below because I think you'll really like it here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into my last dating video of the year. Dating mistake, I ended up making this mistake when I was a sophomore in college, and that is just because somebody is into you doesn't mean you should give it a chance and pretend that you actually like the person when in reality you don't. That is called settling. And we're not gonna do that. So I've actually mentioned this story in the Guys That I've Hurt video. I'll have it linked right up here for you to check out, but I felt really disgusted with myself for trying to give somebody a chance when they have feelings for me, and then me thinking that I actually had feelings for them, but when I really didn't. Or I ended up not having feelings for them like I thought I did. It's really important that you do not lead people on. It's okay to say no, to tell people, I'm not interested in you like that, or I only see you as a friend. I know it sucks to friend zone somebody or to turn somebody down, but it is so much better to do that than to date somebody just for the sake of dating somebody in hopes that it's going to turn into a relationship, and it'll probably turn into a very mediocre and terrible relationship, which is what you do not want in your life. So don't be like me, who made that mistake when she was 20, 21 years. Actually, I was 20 years old when this happened, still very young and dumb. So we're not gonna do that today, okay? So this is a dating mistake that I have actually made from time and time again, and I think I finally have learned my lesson. And that is when I was hooking up with someone, I was never really communicating my wants and needs in the bedroom. And it led to pretty mediocre sex. And I'm not about mediocre sex. And I'm sure you aren't either. How do I say this? Basically, I have learned that I needed to ask the guy to be patient before just jumping to the gun, because I got needs that need to get met before anything else happens. Pleasure in the bedroom is a two-way street. It's not a one-way street. So I really wish I had spoken up about certain things that I wanted before we had jumped to sex, because typically in the past, sex has always ended for me once the guy finishes, and that's not okay. So I have really learned my lesson, and I don't know why I let myself do this for so long. Of course, I'm speaking from a heteronormative standpoint, but regardless of what your sexual orientation is, don't let sex end if your partner finishes before you. You should still be able to keep going and find other ways to make that happen. Now, if you're okay with it, cool, no harm, no foul. But if you feel like that was not a fulfilling experience, then you really need to speak up. Because if you don't speak up, you're going to be very unhappy. And I don't want you to be unhappy in your sex life. So make sure you communicate your wants and needs before your partner gets a little too hot and bothered and they want to jump to the gun immediately. Tell them to hang on, stay patient, because you got needs too. Okay? So this mistake is one that I'm absolutely not proud of. I have brought this up in my biggest heartbreak video where I had slapped a guy out of anger. Don't ever use your hands if you're angry with somebody. Use your words. So I really, really regret this decision because I jumped to conclusions of when I thought I had caught him in a lie, and turns out he wasn't lying to me at all, but he also didn't tell me what was going on. I wish he had spoken up, but there was a huge misunderstanding, and obviously the communication was not there. So instead of jumping to conclusions, reach out to the person, ask them, hey, what's going on? I thought this was happening, but here you are doing this. Ask for an explanation, let them get a chance to say what's going on before jumping to conclusions, because when I did that, this led to a very toxic relationship that I had, because we still continued to see each other after we had made up, but it was just overall a very toxic relationship that I never want to happen in my life ever again, and I hope you don't have that kind of experience like I did. Of course, I did learn from my lesson immediately to not jump to conclusions and to not slap people across their face in public. I'm almost positive that I had humiliated him by doing that. So I've learned my lesson to never use my hands when I'm angry at someone and to just use my words. So speaking of that guy, this leads me to the next thing. If a guy tells you he doesn't want a relationship, or not just the guy, if anybody tells you they don't want a relationship, but they still want to keep seeing you, don't keep seeing them. I was so blinded by this person that I really thought that I was going to get him to change his mind by still continuing to hang out with him and act like a girlfriend even though I wasn't his girlfriend. So don't ever stay with someone when they say they don't want a relationship. They're not going to change their mind. You need to walk away. And I know walking away is definitely one of the hardest things somebody can do, especially when you've developed such strong feelings for that person. But at the end of the day, it's going to be more painful for you to keep staying with somebody who's not going to give you what you want. You're better off walking away, and I would rather you deal with that pain and suffering than to be in this situationship, suffering, wondering, and waiting when this relationship is going to happen, and then when they decide that they need to end things, that pain is going to hurt even more. So you need to learn how to walk away when someone doesn't want the same thing that you do. That is one of the biggest things that I learned in my whole entire life of dating, and it's going to lead me to the next thing that I'm going to talk about. Intentions. The biggest mistake that I made this year and have now officially learned from it is not asking somebody's intentions before meeting up with them. I would rather shoot a quick text to somebody that I match with on a dating app or somebody that I could meet in person who may be interested in me, asking what they're looking for and how long they've been single for. This one was a tough pill to swallow when I realized I was wasting my time with a bunch of guys who didn't want a relationship. And now that I've learned, asking somebody what their intentions are before I meet up with them, because that way it saves my time and I save their time. If you just want sex, don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm looking for something casual, I'm looking to hook up. I know that's a very risky thing to say because you might creep somebody out or you might scare people away, but I would much rather have you be honest with me and just communicate that with me. And maybe if there was a time where I wanted sex too, I'd be down for just a quick one-night stand, but that's not the case with me. I'm looking for a serious monogamous relationship, and I'm gonna stand my ground, and I'm not gonna let these polyamorous dudes walk all over me. Not to say that all the guys that are interested in me are polyamorous, but they may just not want something serious at this time, and I'm in a different place in life that they are, and that's not fair to them to go out with them, and it's not fair to me. So asking people's intentions right away and asking how long they've been single for, and the reason I say this is because if you are interested in looking for a serious relationship, it's really important that you find somebody who has healed from a previous relationship and they've had enough time to pass. Mine is around the year and a half mark, but if someone has been single for less than a year, I run away as fast as I can because I truly don't believe that person has completely healed from their relationship and that they're ready to jump back into a new one. No matter what they say, I don't even care. I really want a lot of time to have passed for them so they are completely over their ex and that they are ready to get into a new relationship again and they have that mindset to do so. You're only doing yourself a disservice if you don't ask people what their single status is, because I really don't want you to get hurt and to get led on. So communicate what you want immediately before meeting up. So important. All right, let's go on to the next one. So this is one that I had made a big mistake within grad school. I was super scared to touch dating apps. Tinder was kind of the only one that was available at the time in, I want to say 2014, 2015, and even some parts of 2016. I was terrified of dating apps. I'm here to tell you, don't be afraid of them. Especially now that we're in a pandemic and it's really hard to meet people in real life in natural situations, dating apps are going to be your best bet. I understand that dating apps can be very scary because there's a lot of people who are not looking for the same thing that you may be looking for. And I get that fear, but it's something you really have to get over. You have to put yourself out there some way, somehow, especially during this time. So in grad school, I downloaded Tinder, I matched with one guy, and I went out with him, and it wasn't a good match, but I realized, okay, you know what, dating apps really aren't that bad, but I will say Tinder was not for me. Then I decided I'm going to try out speed dating, which was another great option. I felt like that worked out better for me when I was living in Kentucky. But then when I moved to San Francisco, dating apps was very common here. It was the norm. And I tried to get myself more comfortable with it. I didn't start dating until 2017, which was a few months after I had moved here because I just needed to get settled in. I was already trying to heal from a heartbreak that I had dealt with earlier in 2016. So I knew that I was not ready to get back into dating and to get into a relationship because I was still trying to get settled and still trying to heal. So when I felt like a lot of time had passed, I was ready to check out dating apps and to see what was going to be a good option for me. So I started using The League. I don't really use that dating app anymore. I now use Flutter and Hinge for my main sources of dating apps. But finding something that works for you, learning the target group of what people are using that dating app and what intentions are behind that dating app, that will help you decide what's going to help you have a successful dating life in whatever city you're living in. So don't be afraid to use them. I think they're great. So the 8th thing that I've made a big mistake with is giving people a second chance when I never felt it with them on the first date. I've been very guilty of this in 2019 and 2018, and I don't feel good about it. So one thing that I've learned is if you really just are not feeling it after the first date, do not agree to go on a second date with them. Now, of course, it's different when you're unsure about them on the first date and you want to give it another chance to see if something will come out of it. That's fine. But if you're still unsure on the second date, then you're probably going to be unsure about it on the third and the fourth date. And it's probably a sign that this person is not really right for you. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to do that one thing that you don't want it to do, is to hurt somebody's feelings and let them down. But communicate that with them and let them know, do not ghost them, do not let the relationship fade out. Just say, hey, it was nice meeting you, but unfortunately, I didn't feel the romantic spark that I was hoping for. I wish you all the best in your career and dating. You know, something nice like that. So it's really as simple as that. Just tell people you're not interested, because that was something that I had a hard time doing. I had a hard time saying no to guys that I didn't want to go out with again, and I felt pressured or inclined to go out with them again, even though I didn't really want to. So don't be afraid to say, hey, no thanks, I don't want a second date. You gotta do it. I know it sucks, but you gotta do it. And finally, this one I was very guilty of, more so in college than here in San Francisco, and that was not spotting red flags or just completely ignoring them as a whole. So back to the guy that I had this somewhat of a toxic relationship with, he was full of red flags. He was a very arrogant person. He hated cats. He was pretty conservative. I just felt like we were just not on the same page with different interests. Now, I did enjoy his company and he enjoyed my company. It's not that we didn't get along. We definitely did. But those are big red flags for me when you have an arrogant personality and you hate cats. I can't be with a man who hates cats because I have a cat. And again, I'm looking for something serious. And if I'm going to look for something serious, I eventually want to move in with my partner. And guess what? Elsa's going to be coming with me. So that man has to be okay with accepting cats and being okay with cats. If he has cat allergies, and you know, I can't date someone who has cat allergies. I know that's not their fault, but it's like, I have a cat. She came first, and I'm not going to give my cat up for somebody who has allergies. So it sucks that I would really end a relationship over something like that. But the point is, if you see these red flags, do not ignore them. I know feelings can blind us so badly, but it's so important that you stick to your guns. Another example was this guy that I was talking to for a few weeks in the month of September. He was chock full of red flags, and I was actually getting ready to end things with him, but he beat me to the punches, and he ended it with me in the most disrespectful way as possible, and I called him out on it. And I was just really happy that he had ended it, because I knew that he was not for me based off how he handled situations and just how he was as a person. He's not a bad person at all, but he's just not for me, and that's okay. You're gonna meet people who are not for you, but don't let love blind you. Find those red flags, don't ignore them, and act upon them. You can call people out to see if they'll change their behavior first, and if they don't, walk away from that relationship. I know it's hard. It's easier said than done. Gotta cut the cord and end that relationship. What do you think? What are some of the biggest dating mistakes that you've made, and what did you learn from it? Comment down below and let me know, because I'd love to know your thoughts and have a whole discussion about it. So if you liked this video and you thought it helped you in some kind of way, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in 2021 with a new dating video, since again, this is my last dating video for 2020. Alright guys, I'll see you next time in a brand new video. Bye!